Hello and welcome. This is me, and I thought tonight I would do another live stream. I'm streaming live off a couple of platforms at the moment. I've got YouTube going, I've got a thing called Sessions going, and it should be streaming on Twitch and maybe on Facebook as well. Somebody can check out my Facebook page and tell me if that's streaming, then that would be really helpful too. The astute among you will have noticed that I've had a shave, and I've done that to my face. So let me know if you like this look. My daughter, I shaved the other day, and my daughter told me I need to put my whiskers back on. So she wasn't particularly impressed at that. But you never know. So what I thought I'd do tonight is I just wanted to, spend some time. I'll answer some of your questions. If you want to hear an instrument, then let me know, and I can potentially get that instrument out. One thing to note though is that my UFO is currently in getting serviced. It's not working brilliantly, so I've got that in. As I said, getting serviced. It's having its valves done because the valves are a little bit dubious. Let me just set up the chat window. Whereabouts are we? There we go. So now I can hopefully flick over to chat by doing that. Hey, it works. Isn't that cool? Hopefully things are going to go smoothly this time, which would make a nice change from normal. Right, I actually wanted to start by showing you something really cool that I got in the mail today. I had a person named Tobias, who sent me a cornet. Now this happens from time to time. This cornet's particularly special though because it's a Conqueror model cornet, Con-Cura, and I have two of those already, but what Tobias has sent me is one that is in absolutely staggeringly brilliant condition. So I'll show you. It has its original case, which is one of these ones I have to be very careful not to open upside down because it's sort of, I don't know, you expect the latches to be up the other way. It's got a postcard in it. In a language that I don't know. He's from, I think, Scandinavia, so that was very nice. But this cornet is absolutely gorgeous. It's in brass plating as opposed to silver plating or anything silver plated like that. It's just the brass. It's got the gold wash in the bell, I think. As I say, it's just a stunning instrument. All the engraving. If we ever look at the bell, all the engraving is on there. It's just absolutely stunning. I love it. The valves articulate brilliantly. There's decent compression on the tuning slides. Where's one that comes out easily? So you can tell how well a valve works by the sort of pop that it makes when you take the tuning slide out. Oops. Oh, that one's connected to the lead pipe. And this is brilliant. I'll just put this down just for a jiffy, and I'll show you the rest of the case. So the case has got this sort of satin interior, yellow satin. The yellow and purple colour scheme isn't my favourite, but it's pretty nice. We have the valve block goes here, and this goes like that to hook it in. We've also got some extra tuning slides, so you can play the instrument in a couple of different keys. We've got a tuning slide down here, we've got a main tuning slide here, we've got a split key lyre, so it's got two levers on it. The springs on that feel really, really stiff. We've got the original cleaning cloth and an original mute and an original mouthpiece. So I haven't actually given this. This arrived in the mail today. It's currently 8 o'clock New Zealand time PM, 8 o'clock in the evening. So I've had this sitting at my desk all day and I've been salivating over it, wanting to play it, but of course I can't do that at work. yeah, so that's I don't know, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I'm pretty happy about this. So Tobias, if you're watching, thank you so very much from the bottom of my liver or whatever else. Right, it doesn't have any valve oil on it, so I know that I did date this. It's about I did date it. I did find out how old it is. It was made in 1906, so that's a few years before even the Titanic did its thing. Halfway between the discovery of flight by the Wright brothers, or if you're in New Zealand, you call him William Pearce, who was a New Zealand aviator. Halfway between that and the outbreak of World War One, where they actually used, flying machines. Actually, there is some lubricant on the valve. Let me just put a little bit more on just to make sure that it's properly lubricated. I have a feeling that this instrument originally probably had a lead pipe extension on it. It doesn't have... Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Oh, excuse me. That's dust. I'm allergic to old things. Alright, so let's just put some more lubricant on the valve. Valve number 2. The valves themselves look a little bit worse for wear. They could potentially do with having some replating done to them. But, so yeah, there's a few people asking about the earthquakes. So that's what the third valve looks like, and the other ones are fairly similar in condition to that. So there was a 7.4 magnitude earthquake off the East Cape of New Zealand at 2 a.m. this morning, and I didn't feel that. I slept right through it. Such are my talents. So I didn't feel that. It was quite deep. About 90 k's deep, or about 50 something miles deep. So it wouldn't have been particularly fierce in terms of sharp, quick movements, but it would have been sort of like more slower rolling ones. But as I say, I stayed asleep, so I can't really say what that was like. However, at about 8 o'clock, I was sitting at, or 8:30, I was sitting at work, and we felt the 8.1 magnitude earthquake on the Kermadec Islands. And that went on for a little while. That was just sort of gentle going like this because of how far away we were, or we are from the Kermadec Islands. But we felt a number of aftershocks. We're all fine. There's some cracking in some of the walls of my house, but nothing major. I'm going to properly sterilise this mouthpiece with spit and the tip of my finger, which is the approved mechanism. So let's give this a go with the Con Model, I think it's Con Model 18 mouthpiece. So this mouthpiece, even the mouthpiece, is gorgeous. You can see it's got engraving around it. Well, it's probably stamped actually, as opposed to engraved. But the original mouthpiece on the original cornet, the Conqueror from 1906, just absolutely love that. So I'll play some notes, and then I might play a piece of music if I get so carried away. Okay, one of the valves is out of alignment. It's that one. See, one of the things with the Conqueror and many cornets of that time is that it has 3 valve guides. So around the top of the valve here, there are three little prongs, offset 60 degrees from each other. No, 120 degrees. What am I talking about? And those prongs mean that you can get, because they're equidistant apart, you can put the valve in 3 different orientations. So there's 9 different combinations that you can put the valves in, and only one of those combinations is actually going to work. So that's the way around it goes. So the marker of saying which valve it is goes around the other way. Garrett Smith, yes, I do still have that contrabass trombone I dropped. I must say the valves on this are exquisite given the age of the instrument. That's a really nice sound, despite the fact it's me that's playing it. Some of the intonation's a little bit off, but yeah, that's really nice. I like that. One thing I've noticed about the valves when I was having a look at this is that as you get with instruments that were designed to play in a couple of different pitches rather, is that there are these lines there on the valves, and you probably won't be able to see it, but down the bottom here are the letters B and A, and they refer to the pitch that you're playing in. So if you were wanting to play in, you know, the key of B flat, you would have it in one position, and then if you were playing in A, you would move the slide out to another position, and so on and so forth, to get the tuning that you want. So that was one of the ways that that instrument makers of the time would do that, because it was quite common to have cornets in A, cornets in B flat, cornets in C, and having an instrument that was versatile enough to be able to change the different keys without sacrificing tuning was quite a desirable trait. And so this, you know, was a professional instrument of the time, and so it had, you know, ways to deal with those multiple pitches. Water. Alright, so what I might do is get some music up, nothing too complicated, because I mean, you know, it's one thing being able to pick up an instrument and play it, but to actually learn the ins and outs of that instrument takes time and things like that. So I'll play a few things, and my computer here isn't signed into OneDrive, which isn't very helpful, because it means that my OneDrive stuff isn't synced to this computer, which is not helpful, because it means I don't have my latest scores here. And here I thought everything was going well. Alright, where's a slow melody I can play? Oh, that's for clarinet, that's ridiculously high. And that's for pipe organ. Let me just play something off the top of my head. I love this instrument. This is fantastic. and the mouthpiece with it is it just suits it. I'm listening to myself back through my through the headphones that I'm wearing, and it sounds nice, and I don't think I normally sound all that nice on a cornet. What I have though is a modern cornet, sort of just out of arm's reach, but I shall lean over and grab it. This is a Boozy & Hawkes round stamp Sovereign, and this is an identical model to the one that my dad used to play when he was alive. And I managed to buy this in a second-hand shop. It's a lot moderner, but it's still from the valves. But it's still from the 70s, so it's 70 years newer. Let me just put some lubricant on those valves. But we could do a tone comparison between a modern cornet, a mere 50 years old, 45 years old, and a cornet that's 105 years old. It's important to note that even though this modern quotation marks cornet is still 45 years old, it is the sort of style that you get these days. So I'll put some lubrication on the valves. I've done one, and I need to do valves 2 and 3. You'll note that I'm just saying meaningless information to pad out the amount of time this is taking me, because I have the dexterity of an 8. Where is my valve guide? There it is. So having done 2, I'm just going to reinsert that valve and put it in its place. And then I can do a comparison, as has been requested by Mummy Cass Reborns, of the Echo Cornet, which has now been sitting on my wall of many things for a little while, and so probably won't work, but who knows. Alright, so this is a modern cornet, as I've said for about 4 times now, and we'll just do a bit of a tonal comparison between the two. So that's a 105-year-old cornet versus a 45-year-old cornet. The new cornet is certainly heavier. It's a little bit easier to play. It seems to be a bit more willing to play loudly. But other than that, the tone, I think, sounds quite similar, just hearing it through my microphone. And I actually think the intonation for such an old cornet is beautiful. That's absolutely fantastic. So Tobias, if you ever see this, thank you so much. That is just fantastic. In fact, that might be my main cornet when I go out and play cornet, because that is just gorgeous. Over here, on the other hand, is my Indian Echo Cornet. That was... you can hear the grit of excellence in there. So let's just... oh, these ones. Okay, there's one. Oh, gosh. I don't know if you can hear the sound of me unscrewing the valve caps, but it's not a pleasant sound. And it's nothing pleasant to look at either. Woe is me. Alright. I'm going to put on half a litre of valve oil because that's the amount that's necessary. Oh. And then the next problem is fitting these valves back in, because neither the valve nor the cylinders that hold the valves are are perfectly round, so you can't actually rotate a valve all the way around to find out where the valve guide needs to line up correctly. You just sort of have to use force, which is the way that, you get the best results. So to illustrate that point, we've got the second valve, and I need to rotate it to find out where the valve goes. But I can't physically rotate the valve past that point. If I try to put it in there, the valve gets stuck. So I have to take it out and rotate. And so that's where the valve's supposed to go. But if I move it around 180 degrees on a proper instrument, you would be able to rotate the valve, but on this you can't. It just gets stuck. So, I mean, that's just the sort of excellence that you get with this instrument. But I mean, that's the difference between an instrument that has round holes for the valves and an instrument that has whatever not round is. Alright, 2 valves working. I don't know if I'll ever use the third valve, but let's lubricate that at the same time. It'll slow down the aging process, if nothing else. Oh, and then the poorly threaded things means it's impossible to put the valves. Right, I think I've got it. The whiff of excellence is just exquisite. So I'm going to be playing this instrument with a mouthpiece that actually costs more than the instrument does. For anyone who cares, my preferred cornet mouthpiece is a Denniswick Heritage 5B, which is too small. It goes in too far on this. But let's hear. Right. Let's put some more lubrication on this. I'm not sure whether we're supposed to use cement and gravel as the valve oil, but it would appear that we're not supposed to use, normal lubricants that are familiar to mankind. Wow. There's a reason that this lives on my wall of many things and not in my collection of musical instruments. Alright, the valves are moving for the time being, and I'll play the same, the same excerpt, and I'll play it on the 3 different cornets. Alright. So that is a lot harder to play. The resistance through that is awful. Alright, so now the same thing on a professional grade modern cornet. Other than the difference in tuning between the two, between the instruments, the SAI is the hardest to play by a long shot, as you would expect, given that it's made out of scrap iron. But the other two are nice. The modern cornet is a lot more efficient. You can tell that for the amount of effort that you put into it, it creates a sound that's twice as loud, twice as easy to play. And newer instruments continue that trend, are more efficient and so forth. Whereas there's no redeeming features of that Echo cornet, the SAI one, other than the fact that it has a large abscess and sort of suppurating growth on the side of it. But I like that old cornet. I really, really like it. That is just gorgeous. And just for completeness, this here is a Besson enharmonic cornet. This is the sort of a similar age to the old cornet that I've got. Like all things, it needs to be lubricated before I play it. So it's the same age as the Con. It's in not as good condition, but it has a compensating valve mechanism, an early sort of compensating valve mechanism, whereby the lead pipe goes into the third valve first. If you don't use the third valve, the air is routed through the shorter first and second valve. But if you do use the third valve, then the air is routed through the longer first and second tuning slides. So it's sort of like a compensating instrument, but in a much more efficient way. A much more inefficient way than what modern compensating instruments are. And of course nowadays with instruments that have reliable triggers and things like that, you don't need compensating instruments. But nevertheless, this is a very interesting, quite unusual older cornet. It's one of two that I had. I had a better one that I'd bought from a guy in the UK, and he wanted it back, so I sold it back to him, particularly as I had two of the same model. It's just that one was in better condition. So this is how long the valve is. This is the third valve, and you can see it's got a lot more pathways through it. In fact, I think the first and second valves have more pathways through them than the third valve does. So this is the second valve. It's got double the amount of pathways through it than what you have in a normal valve. So it's not a particularly efficient instrument as far as compensating mechanisms work, but yeah, I'll give it a bit of a go, and we can compare the sound to two very old cornets. And I'll use the same mouthpiece if it fits. I don't actually think I've played this cornet, although the mouthpiece doesn't fit. So we've got this weird lead pipe attachment here, and I don't think that's original because the mouthpiece doesn't go in anywhere near as far enough. So it's this cornet is certainly freer blowing than the Besson enharmonic, the other old one that I showed you. But that's sort of a double-edged sword really, because instruments that have a bit more resistance, I find in my experience, it allows you to be more put more energy into the tone that you're trying to get. So for instance, if I get a very open, free-blowing, efficient cornet, the sound that you put in just goes straight out the instrument. And whereas when you have an older instrument that has a bit more resistance through it, you've got a lot more flexibility in what you can do to the tone with your embouchure, and that translates to things like easier vibrato, and it also means it's easier to play quietly. For instance, there are some times in my UFO where I'm playing, if I need to play double piano or triple piano or something like that, I will use valve combinations that require me to put down more valves so that I've got a little bit of extra resistance through the instrument, so that I can play a little bit quieter more easily and still have control over the sound that I'm producing. So for instance, if I'm playing a concert F or a G in treble clef on my UFO, instead of playing it on open, I might press the fourth valve down, I might press the first and third valves down, use these alternate combinations to add more loops into the tubing, increase the resistance felt at the mouthpiece, and that gives me the ability to control my sound at quieter dynamics. So that's a bit of a cheat that I use, but it's something that holds true for these instruments because I have more control on the tone on these older instruments because of the extra resistance, compared to playing one of the more modern instruments where the sound just goes straight out. That's probably something with the right amount of practice and effort and so forth you can probably mitigate or work around that. But it's just something interesting that I've noted. I wonder what other things that I could show you tonight. I don't know. I'm just so chuffed with this corner. I might see if I can find some other music that I can put up on screen and we can just play through. I downloaded some new music today actually, but for some reason, since I'm not logged into OneDrive on this computer, and for some reason when I open OneDrive it just opens the folder as opposed to opening the app, which is annoying. Yeah, I don't have anything synced with this, but let's find some music. And what's this one? This is a clarinet solo, so that's going to be ridiculously high. Schubert's Serenade. Oh, I love the sound of this thing. That's That's just beautiful. So next we'll be doing a drop test. No, I'm just kidding that. I'm just kidding with that. Oh, I love this instrument. Where's some other music that I've got? Why is this all clarinet music that I've got in this folder? Bach Badenere. Yeah, lips are a little bit average tonight. I haven't really played. I haven't really. What's this? The Bee, Schubert. Oh, that's going to be a disaster, isn't it? I don't think I've ever played this one, but it's written for clarinet again, I think. Let's play one bar. Yeah, no. Maybe play that on UFO, but not going to play that on this. For some reason this folder is full of clarinet music. Hey. I don't know this one either. Yeah, I'm not going to be ambitious enough to play that on this instrument. Oh gosh, this looks fun. Yeah, that's another one that's going to have to wait for my cornet lips, I think. Cavalier Rusticana. Oh, I'd love if there was a brass arrangement of that. That wasn't ridiculously high. Let's play it down an octave. Oh, we've found some bad intonation. Yeah, microphone. So low D is very, very sharp, as you would expect. And the third, oh no, I can move the third valve tuning slide. All right, let's put that. If you can hear the person with a small penis and the car outside, please forgive that. We seem to have a few bozos who live in my neighbourhood. Yeah. So if there was a brass arrangement of Cavaliera Rusticana, I would love that. Oh, Tony Heavy Industries has asked a very brass relevant question. Should I eat chicken or pot stickers? I have no idea what that is. I don't know what pot stickers are in the context that you're asking them. Or if that's an attempt at humour that I've missed, then please allow me to give the appropriate reaction. Ha 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 ha! Oh. Right. Right, where's something else? Oh, here's a different version of this. Oh, it's in tenor clef. Yeah, I can play that down an octave, but oh no, that gets too low for cornet. Here's one that I know. I have about 400 different versions of this piece, but I like it. If I had a signature piece, this probably would be my signature piece, I guess. I just realised that you guys can't see the music that I'm... Oh no, yes you can. Oh gosh, driving a computer in my brain is two things that don't go well together. Alright. You can hear my lip degrading as I play this. Yeah, I'll persevere. Right, that started getting very crass at the end. My lip is failing me, as my back has done earlier on in my life. Yeah, here's something else. Ah, the grandfather's clock, definitely clock. Oh yes. I might pick up my flugel because that's what my lip fancies at the moment. Gosh, my lips are letting me down. Sorry. My scales are terile, Mr. Wishy-Washy. Thank you very much for your compliments. I'm going to have to find I'm going to pop into my Google and ask what a terile is. Hold on, let me just do this. Let's define terile. No, there doesn't appear to be a dictionary definition for terile. Here you will find one or more explanations in English for the word terile. No results for terile. There was a guy called Alberto Terile who's an Italian-born photographer. Perhaps that's what he's calling. My scales are terile. Well, I do apologise for my terile scales. I don't know anything about him, but yeah. Oh well. No, I've lost my top. Oh, I've lost my top notes. Ah, dearie me. Oh, this is what happens when you get old, I guess. Indio D. El Salvador has corrected himself and learned how to correctly spell the word terrible. Let's all just take a moment to congratulate him on his educational achievement. It just goes to show how well you can do when you put some effort into it. Right. No, there's notes here that I have to work out what that's going to be another one that's not going to happen. Lists Hosanna for bass trombone and pipe organ. If you have not heard a bass trombone and a pipe organ working together in a place that has a lot of reverb, natural reverb, then listen to Hosanna by Franz Liszt. It is absolutely spectacular. I absolutely love it. Yeah, absolutely love it. When I get my pipe organ up and running, I am going to find somebody to play that with. Variations on my old Kentucky Hunt. No, that's not the melody. Where's the solo? Solo for clarinet. No, that doesn't look like the solo part either. Oh, is it solo for E flat? What else do we have here? Oh, this looks like the solo part. I have not played this, I don't think. I don't think I've played this. I don't have a UFO available to me, unfortunately, because mine's in getting its valves surfaced. But let's have a bash through this. This is gonna be awful because it's hard to read this music, and I haven't played it before. But here's some sight reading. and I've just seen what the rest of this looks like, and that's too high for my lip to do tonight, so join in next week where I have a UFO again. Moto Perpetuo by the famous New Zealand composer Nicholas Paganini. There is a couple of fantastic versions of this by Sergei Nikirikov, or however his name is pronounced, Russian guy, and Wellington Marsalis, both of whom have mastered the technique of double tonguing and circular breathing at the same time. I can do either or. I can't do both at the same time. So this is a piece, Constant Motion, Moto Perpetuo. Oh, somebody's made a super chat. Mason Guy. Oh, fantastic. Thank you so very much, Mason. Thoughts on Monosal Brass. Those guys are epic. I've been to one of their concerts and I was just blown away. Their musicality is beyond reproach. It's just absolutely unbelievable. And if they ever come back to New Zealand one day, post-COVID, I will absolutely listen to them again. They are just epic. They are Shargel artists, and Shargel also makes some absolutely gorgeous instruments. For some reason I was on their website last night just having a look, and they make some top action rotary valve cornets. And they're also just, I want them in my life. But there's no way I can afford them, let alone I can hardly afford to look at them, let alone buy them. But yeah, so Shargel, I'd love, yeah, reach out to me and send me every one of your instruments and I'll do a review. Which is probably more worth, though every one of their instruments, just one of them would be worth more than my house. But their bass trombone, I forget what they call it, what they call it, but the way they've got just the perfectly parallel two rotors, the way that they have got them wrapped is just gorgeous. Oh, it pleases my eyeballs to look at Shargel instruments, particularly their bass trombone, the way that they've got the wrap on that one, and their top action rotary valve cornet. I want that in my life. But yeah, so that's what Monosal play on, and Monosal are just epic. I love watching Monosal. But anyway, back to this by the famous New Zealand composer Nicholas Paganini. This is one that only to play this you need to be able to circular breathe and double tongue at the same time, because it's quite fast. And I recommend, before I sort of butcher the first 4 bars of it and then give up, that you go and listen to Wellington Marsalis and Sergei Nikirikov. I'm not sure how it is. He's a Russian. I think he's from the Russian Federation. But just absolutely epic. Absolutely epic. Yeah, that's as much as I can. And you'll notice I slurred it instead of double tonguing because age. Indio has now begged for forgiveness and he's going to buy me a Shargel Raven trumpet. The Shargel Raven is the same concept as their as their top action rotary valve cornet, but I prefer the cornet because I play that more often than I play trumpet. But yeah, I don't expect anyone to buy me anything. Philly Swiftstake, Wilfred Bandstrotter, I think his name is the tubist for Monosal Brass, and he's just a fantastic tuba player. I love the instrument that he used to, I think he used to play. It was like a 6 valve, and it had a kitchen knife out the side that he would use as a lever to adjust the tuning slide. And it was just fantastic. Those guys are amazing. Yeah, I just love listening to them. And they did a skit called Lonely Boy, where they have the guy that plays either bass trumpet or trombone, or just plays that one of those parts. I forget it's the guy with the long hair, and he just sits on the chair with the most relaxed couldn't be bothered with the world expression on his face, and he plays 2 trombone parts with a slide in between each of his big toes, and he's moving that around, and then he's got his right hand up here playing the melody, and his left hand on a different trumpet played by somebody else, and he's playing the harmony on it. The trombone parts are really straightforward. The guy's using the trigger, so it's just a matter of going between 2 different positions on each foot, and so you can get that set up, you know, where you're just doing that just by jerking the feet. So it's relatively straightforward, but the sort of cognitive ability he must have anyway to do that and do it in tune is just epic. The fact that it's in tune, I think, is one of the greatest achievements there, as well as the pantomime and the acting. So search for Minozel, Lonely Boy. It's just epic. I might play a bit of this. I think I've played bits of this before. And that will do. Oh no, let's play the finale. Oh, rubbish. Rubbish, rubbish, rubbish. Saisons. Little bit of saisons. That's one of my favourite tunes. I'm not actually really much of a fan of Saison's, generally speaking. I don't listen to a lot of his music, to be honest. Different composers claim my allegiance, but the Swan is one of my favorite pieces. In fact, this used to be my waking up, go get ready for work alarm back before I changed it. I had this as my alarm for quite a long time, actually. But anyway, I don't know. I think I'll probably finish it there. So I'm planning on doing live streams at around 8 p.m. New Zealand time, so about an hour ago, starting about an hour ago, for the next couple of weeks. We'll see how it goes. I know that this is a time of the day that doesn't work for a lot of people. If I did a live stream tomorrow morning New Zealand time, which is Friday evening in the US time, then there's a lot more people that listen. In fact, my concurrent viewers, which is currently 38 or so, that's sometimes up over 100 if I do it at a different time. So I don't know if I'll bother doing it at this time, but I thought for the next couple of weeks, if you want to tune in this time, then you can. And I'll go for probably about an hour or so. So anyway, thank you very, very much for those people who have done super chats. It's fantastic to get that sort of encouragement, and it helps me put on these videos, and it motivates me to do more. So if you can support the channel in some way, then that is an option. Patreon is another option. There's some merch, there's a link to some merch stores, and some options there to get some shirts if you're interested in that. But otherwise, feel free to drop me a line and follow me on Facebook and things like that. Next week I'll have my UFO back, so I'll be able to actually play something properly, because I'm getting my UFO chops back, as opposed to now where I'm sort of struggling to play a cornet. So I'll have my UFO back next week. What else should I say? Oh, I might actually do some rehearsals, some practice for the band that I play in, because you can see my process of practicing, because there's some pieces that we've been given by our musical director, who our musical director's given me some music that I can't sight read, so I'm going to have to do some practice, and so maybe that'll be what I focus on next week. I thank you very much all for joining me, and I hope you have a fantastic evening. Yeah. Yeah.